house is built, I'd say maybe, would it be built a year and a half? Fine place, and it's closed. And there'll be weeds growing in the guttering before long.
Because let's remember, this building is sitting there idle. It's completely built, it cost a lot of money to build it. It was built for a reason. It was because people accepted there was a need. And for him to simply, and how can anybody stand in a department knowing that that is the case, that a family have been put through the hoops for over a decade to see a building completed, and then a Quango under his control is now saying we didn't bother to allocate a budget to operate that same facility. So
this whole thing is turning into a tragic comedy, and some of it is so fantastic you must think that I'm making it up, but I'm not. We were told by a man sitting in that chair that you're now sitting on, a senior manager from the HSE, we were told that the house will be operational in early 2008. And he looked us straight in the face and told us this. So we said, "Big Jove, bring it on." So it didn't happen, as I'm sure you're aware. Then we were given another deadline by Monaghan County Council, October 2010. Didn't happen. We were given other deadlines. We got a letter from senior management in the HSE in October 16 saying that the money to run the house, which was built in the interval, fine house, would be available in 2017. We got the same letter with a new date on it and a couple of minor little things a month ago, saying that funding would be available to run the house in the budget of 2019. And the guy that sent this letter, same man, he didn't even blush. I mean, how can a person in a very senior position not see even the embarrassment in that? My name is Brian, I'm from Carrick Macross, and my wife's name is Sheila, originally from Armagh, but we're living in Carrick now. We have 3 children, Dahi, Jane and Romy, in that order. Romy was born in December 1981, so she's 36. Numerous tests were carried out on Romy, and then we were summoned to a meeting in, I think it was in Craigavon Hospital, and we were told the news. We learned 2 new words that day, cerebral palsy. We had never heard them before. And then there was another word added, quadriplegic cerebral palsy. So we were lost again. So the people did their best to explain that Romy would not be running around like other children and wouldn't be climbing trees or kicking a ball or swimming and so on. And it began to dawn on us that life was going to be very different to what we had planned. Now, it's important to point out here that Romy loved school. She loved being part of the school community, and even though she couldn't contribute much to it at all, but that didn't come against her. We contacted the HSE at this point when Romy was, we'll say she's 36 now, when she was about 29 or maybe 30. And we explained that we were becoming physically weaker. I'm
lost count of the numbers of ministers, both for housing and for health, that I've been liaising with, and I can safely say this has been the most frustrating case that I have ever dealt with.
You see, Sheila's 72, I'm 71, Romy's 36. And Romy's fed up at home. She said to somebody recently, "I can't wait to get out of here." But there have been so many false dawns.
Every single month I submitted a question to the council officials as to what is the update in relation to the group home. I have one answer back here from 2011. So at this stage I've been working on this case for 4 years. It's July 2011, and at that stage the council gave a possible completion date of late 2012 or 2013.
So here we have the house built, and a big fine house on a lovely site on a good road, and anyone, including myself, would be proud to live in it.
Under no circumstances at that time did I think that we could be faced with the prospect of having a completed house that had been fought for a decade, and it in place, and then after it being built, that we would receive a letter from the HSE to say that, oh, by the way, we haven't actually allocated any funding for the operation of this house and this home.
Now, when I say the house is ready, I mean it's ready in all ways with the exception of, we'll say, beds, armchairs, tables, but that's only furniture. That's 3 days would furnish it. And the HSE has told us that. They said in mere detail there are suppliers all the length and breadth of Ireland waiting to put in the furniture. Now, the HSE has told us right from the beginning that when the money is released, it will pay for full-time staffing.
That all of a sudden there isn't any funding available, that to me just is beyond comprehension, and it's inexcusable, and it's just the level of ineptitude and bad management that it would involve to get to that point, to me, is just staggering.
All we're waiting for is the HSE to say, let's go.
The HSE actually very early on, and I have this in writing as well, agreed that they would manage the site if it were built. Yet here we are in 2018 and the building still isn't operational. That is just bizarre and indefensible in my view. Right now, the person responsible is Simon Harris. He's the Minister for Health. The HSE operates under his direction. He has the power and the authority to tell them to do what they promised and provide the funding in order to allow this house to be available.
Because everybody who knows anything about the project knew that people were going to have to be paid to run it. So doesn't it seem so contradictory to build a house and have it there looking at the people and nobody in it? It's so hard to figure it out. And there are people like our daughter Romy who are waiting and waiting and waiting.
The Minister for Health now needs to invest the money that's required, and my appeal out of this is that people will contact that minister, contact Simon Harris, send him an email, ring his office, tweet him. If you have a postal address, send him a letter, ask him to do his job and provide the services, because let's remember, this building is sitting there idle. It's completely built, it cost a lot of money to build it, it was built for a reason, it was because people accepted there was a need, and for him to simply, and how can anybody stand in a department knowing that that is the case, that a family have been put through the hoops for over a decade to see a building completed, and then a Quango under his control is now saying we didn't bother to allocate a budget to operate that same facility. So my hope is that people will contact him and put pressure on him, and that he will do the right thing.